Hello, dear friends. It's the 23rd of January. Glad most of you have watched my video with interview with Scott Ritter. I hope Scott Ritter invites me back. It was a pleasure. Reminiscing old times too was an interesting thing. Yeah, I do miss military service. I won't deny that. It's just one of those things. You grow used to it. It's a lifestyle. It's a very specific lifestyle that not for most people, but it is what it is. So today issue I want to discuss is the Ukrainians have come forward and admitted that they're the same treasonous, traitorous, well, not traitorous, backstabbing little bastards as their Western masters, which is no surprise, but it's always nice to hear them admit it. The negotiations at the beginning of this conflict, after the West ignored everything, continued moving forward toward our border, ignored every warning, ignored requests for negotiations, just ignored everything basically, because we don't have a right to exist, so, as far as the West is concerned. But it all became very clear why they were doing this, because, first Merkel, until 2 years ago was... until a year and a half ago, she was head of Germany for, 16 years. And Hollanday, who, when the Minsk agreements were first signed, Minsk I and Minsk II, was president of Poland, have both come out and admitted that they never meant for any peace in Ukraine. They were just buying time to build up the Ukrainian army and launch a war against A, the Russian population, and B, against Russia itself. Meat is meat, and meat should be used. And that meat has come out and stated also fairly that, no, they weren't actually ever negotiating at the beginning of the conflict in any kind of honesty. They were just buying time. Saying that Boris Johnson supposedly tanked negotiations that were close to being ready, even that's a lie. Johnson just taking credit for himself where he never deserved it, and the Ukrainians being the holes that they are, in this case. The owners of Ukraine, who most of them aren't Ukrainians or Orthodox, are waging a war against Christianity in these Russian lands, in historical Russian lands. Historical being 1,000+ years of Russian lands. They're fighting against God. And by the way, the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchs, which is the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, is home to 22 million Ukrainians. That's half of the, quote, 43 million population, which hasn't existed since 1991, 1992. A good chunk of that population died, left, or immigrated, or broke away. Ukrainians may be down to 20+ million, if that much. And now they're taking 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds to go die, so, soon they'll be taking the 12-year-olds, and the 60-year-old men are getting pulled in. It's basically anything that can hold a weapon of some kind and charge into machine gun fire, because that's what it is. And the Poles are now voicing very actively, the Polish elites, that all the Ukrainian men in Poland need to be organized and sent off to the front. Because Poland doesn't need them. They're meat that needs to be gotten rid of before Poland annexes the 5 provinces it's planning on annexing, and it's openly talking about. Because, Ukraine can't pay Poland back, so we'll just take it, and then we'll pay NATO back. Ukraine's dead. So all the little bastards are climbing out of the woodworks. Because, hey, what's the point of hiding and, anymore? It's showtime. It's very interesting. I mean, things are evolving, the truth. Most people aren't paying attention. But the truth is out, and it's coming out, because even all the little Satan's little helpers are so egotistical now that they think they can, they'll just tell the truth. They think they won, which are morons, as usual. No, they haven't won. And they don't understand is we won't stop. We won't stop. For us to stop is for us to die. So that means Europe has to die for us to win? Well, sorry, Europe, you're screwed. And the only way you Europeans are going to live to the end of the next 2-3 years is to overthrow your governments. That's it. Because voting for the opposition is pointless. Because the opposition is just as much a horse for Washington and London as the guys in power. All you're doing is wasting time and extending your own suffering. Now, I've been told by many Europeans Oh, we're against this. The majority of people are against this. Blah, 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 blah. And that's all it is blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's right. Because while you're sitting on your ass watching YouTube or doing whatever the hell you're doing, your government is marching toward war. And you will be meat in that war. And your children will die in that war. Welcome to reality. Because once that war starts, it's too late. It's too late because by that point you have martial law. And by that point, trying to go and trying to protest your government and saying, I don't want to go, makes you absolute traitors, makes you under martial law, makes you meat. At best, you will get thrown into a penal brigade or battalion or just shoved up to the front. Worse, you'll get executed. So gentlemen, ladies, mommies and daddies, kiddies who don't want to become meat on the Eastern Front, like your great-grandpas and your grandpas were, get off your arses and go do something about it. Because your time is almost up. It's that close. You're like around 11:45. Midnight is right around the block. You're almost there. You're almost there. Ukrainians are pretty much used up. You're next to be used up. The Poles are being used up right now. So are the Romanians. Sure, the extermination of the Poles on the battlefield isn't going at full speed yet, but it'll pick up. The owners of Poland are going to make sure of that. So, yeah, if you want to do something, you best start doing it. And you best do more than just scream at your government that doesn't give a damn about you. Nor does it give a damn about what you think. All they give a damn about is how much money they're going to put in their pockets, or whatever crazed green or whatever else ideology they can shove down everybody's throat because they drank the Kool-Aid. They didn't get a cup of Kool-Aid. They drank damn liters worth of Kool-Aid. So you'd best wake the hell up. Smell the coffee while you can still afford any of that coffee. And figure out you're screwed. So either you take your fate into your own hands, or they'll take your fate into their hands. They already have. And by the way, I want to come back to the Orthodox Church. It's a little something. The Ukrainian National Church, which cares nothing about God and Christ in general, except for how it can serve the Ukrainian oligarchs, who are usually in Switzerland partying their asses off, or flying to Davis at $250,000 plus expenses, all paid by not paid for Ukrainian taxpayer, they ain't got any money. It's paid by you suckers. Your European and American suckers are paying for all of this, while your own countries are disintegrating. I mean, Christ's sakes, America's fourth quarter reality check is in the fourth quarter of a recession. It's one of the worst recessions America's ever had. And there ain't no end in sight. 4 quarters of negative growth. And even when it comes out at barely positive growth, whenever it gets recorrected after the initial headlines, it's almost always negative when it gets reconnected. It gets recorrected down. It's always getting recorrected down. And when it's barely any kind of growth, it's recorrected down to shrinkage. So 4 quarters, no matter what Biden and his handlers are telling you, there's no recession. There might be a recession. You're almost a full year in recession. I mean, damn. Welcome to reality. And by the way, it was 1936 before the U.S. government admitted it was in a depression. Depression started in 1932, not 1929. That was the crash. Next 3 years, they tried to fix the crash. Fixing the crash, they created the Great Depression. So, welcome to reality again. Anyways, as far as the Orthodox Church goes, the fake Nationalist Church was created by the Metropolitan of Kiev. Danilenko tried to win in 1988, if I remember correctly. He was trying to become the Patriarch of Moscow because he was part of the Moscow Church. And he was a corrupt old bastard. He still is. He paid off, thought he paid off the synod during the elections and lost. He lost to Alexei II. And just if anybody thinks this is some kind of racial issue because he's, quote, Ukrainian, and no Ukrainians are Russians, Alexei II was a German. So there goes the whole racial thing. Church doesn't give a damn about your race. The Moscow Patriarchy is over a patriarchal territory that includes Ukraine, Belarus, Finland, Japan, Korea. All of that territory and Central Asia are the territory of the Moscow Patriarchy. The Georgia Patriarchy is over Georgia and parts of Turkey. The Constantinople Patriarchy is over Turkey. It's not over Greece, because the Patriarch, who is not a Greek, he's a former Turkish army captain. Greeks don't become officers in the Turkish army. Greece has its own metropolitan over Greece. Though they fall lockstep after the Turkish captain, who swore an oath to defend Turkey and destroy Greece. Well, that's their problem. Whatever's going on in their brains. Usually what's going on in their brains is the money the CIA is offering. Has been offering them since the 1940s. But that's a different issue altogether. So Dalenko went back to Kiev. Started trying to do his own thing. He got excommunicated from the Orthodox Church because A, he was corrupt as hell, had all kinds of schemes and kickbacks that was going on, and 2, he was living with his common law wife and kids. Well, except for parish priests, in the Orthodox Church, all other priests are monks. Just one general order of monks, so there's not anything like Jesuits or something like that. So the patriarch patriarch has to be a monk. The metropolitans are monks. Everybody higher than a parish priest is a monk, and some of the parish priests are monk. Now, Alexei, for example, was ordained married, so he was a parish priest. Alexei II, who was patriarch prior to Kirill. He was ordained a parish priest, and he couldn't rise above parish priest. His wife left him. In the Orthodox Church, priests cannot marry. They can enter the church and become priests as married men, but they cannot marry as a priest. So if they get divorced, because in this case his wife left him, if the wife dies, they cannot remarry. They can leave the priesthood. They don't have to leave the church. They can leave the priesthood and get remarried and live as Christians for the rest of their lives. Obviously, nobody's going to say anything. But to remain a priest, they cannot be remarried. They can't be married in the first place. So they have to be married before. So when Alexei's wife left him, he became a monk, celibate. And he eventually became patriarch. So Dalenko was told to confess. He was told to repent for his sins. He said no. He was excommunicated from the church. So he started his own church, named himself Patriarch of Kiev. But he's not Orthodox, and he's if anything, he's closer than anything. He's a Unionite to the Catholics. But even then, he's a heretical little bastard. He's not of God. He's of the devil. And of course, he fits well for Washington and for Kiev and London and everything else. All the little centers of Satan. So don't ever think otherwise. They push all of Schwab's and Soros's ideas. And there's nothing sacred for these people except money and power. That's their gods. So just so you know. And then when they couldn't get the Orthodox Church to leave, break, abandon its properties, they used to confiscate them with thugs and Nazis. But at this point, they don't have to do that. They can just ban a religion of 22 million people, half their population officially. So in reality, it's more like 2/3 of the population. Just ban it and steal everything on sight. Because, that's how the West rolls. Anti-Christian, satanic, anti-morality. Oh yeah, I'm not woke. Neither is Russia. Neither is Hungary. Neither is Serbia. That's why they despise us. Poland's not woke, but Poland's a whore and everything else for the West, including quite willing to sacrifice its people for its own glory. As far as the rest of the West, Christ's sakes. The demographics tell all the stories you need to tell. So anyways, like I said, dear friends, if you want your kids to have a future, best get off your arses and do something now, not later. Later is too late. It's already basically too late. You're about out of time. So, if you want to have your kids have a future, take a good look at your little children's faces. Look them in the eyes if they're still little. If they're not little, look them in the eyes. And then wonder, do you want them to have a future? Go with God.